that, we have with us Arun Chittilappilly joining in on the show right now. Arun, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. How come this decision of reopening Kochi, given that the virus caseload hasn't quite stabilized there? What kind of footfalls do you anticipate now that you've decided to open the park?
Thanks for having me on the show. So we have opened our Hyderabad and Bangalore parks last month. In the beginning of August, and we have got the go-ahead from the Kerala government also to open the parks. So I think we are seeing some demand in terms of potential footfalls similar to what Karnataka and Telangana have. So we feel it's a natural decision for us to open the parks, and there is sufficient demand, and definitely and so in Kerala only vaccinated people are allowed in the parks. They have special restrictions, and I think looking forward to seeing how that pans out.
Given that you reopened Bangalore and Hyderabad earlier this month, what has been the response like in terms of footfalls now that these parks are open?
So we opened Hyderabad first at the beginning of the month, and Bangalore followed about a week or two later. And initially, we had a opening offer where we had a discounted tickets, and we saw huge traction at that time. And even after the initial discounts were removed, we are seeing pretty good numbers. We are seeing about between 2,000 to 3,000 visitors whenever the parks are open. So that's gives us a lot of confidence that we want to keep the parks open. Still early days. It's only been about 2-3 weeks since we opened the parks, and so early trends are positive, and we hope that we can maintain that.
Arun, hi, this is Alex joining in. Just want to get a sense of the kind of impact that COVID has had in this financial year on your financials. The hope, of course, was that we had seen the worst of it and that things were getting better, and then the second wave panned out. What is the kind of impact that you're seeing on the financials?
Essentially, our first quarter was completely wiped out. That is the impact that we've seen during the pandemic. We only had about 15 days of park open days in the last quarter, and I think we ended up with a loss of about 9 crores. But I suppose it was expected. So, but we were able to manage, and luckily this time the second wave has diminished quite quickly and drastically. And because of that, I think all the governments have now, allowed parks to be reopened, and also people are coming back to the parks, so which is a good trend. This is again in keeping with similar trends that we've been noticing among parks abroad and in other Southeast Asian countries. Wherever parks are allowed to open, they are seeing footfalls coming back. So I think if there's no a massive third wave, I think we should be able to tide over this. And in any case, we are not expecting the whole year to be operational for this financial year also. It's very unpredictable, as you all know. But I think the hope is that we'll be able to have more park open days this year compared to last financial year, and then slowly improve on that. So I think that looks definitely possible.
So Arun, from an operational standpoint, I think businesses like yours have to focus on, like you said, tiding over this period of uncertainty. But from the cost perspective, what measures are you putting in place to reduce the cost, to reduce the burn? And is this stop-start kind of an operation going to hurt you in this financial year?
We are very well placed to tide over the pandemic. We've been able to reduce our costs by over 70% from pre-COVID, which is, I think, an astonishing feat. I don't think any other parks have been able to do that kind of a cost saving. So that has helped us a lot, to tide over the pandemic and brought costs down. All our salaries have taken, all our employees have taken voluntary pay cuts, especially when the parks are closed. So we have a very good team managing everything, and even operations. Even during the park closed days, we make sure that all our rides are maintained and are in good condition. So whenever we are allowed to reopen the parks parks look brand new. So these are some of the things that we are very, very particular about. Safety and hygiene standards. We are the only parks in India which are certified for CoSafe by Bureau Veritas from France for COVID safety. So a lot of these things play to our advantage, and that is why I think we're seeing footfalls coming back when we reopen. And I think we are in a good place. I mean, obviously not the ideal. We would ideally want all the parks to be open all days of the year. But since this is a pandemic, that's wishful thinking, and we are happy to get reasonably good amount of park open days, and we can manage.
Hi Arun, this is Mubina as well joining in. Well, yes, the ideal situation, of course, is going back to pre-pandemic times, but unfortunately, we all adjust to the new realities, and it is what it is. We're still facing so much uncertainty. So, Arun, Kochi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, the parks in these towns have opened up. What's the status in terms of overall where you are right now in terms of the parks that have opened, the footfalls that you are seeing versus, what the average was like just before the pandemic? And I know you spoke about the response so far in Bengaluru and Hyderabad, but how do you see it? Let's hope that there is no third wave, but do you see that kind of excitement in people to get out there again and to leave their homes and visit parks like yours, what we are calling as revenge travel, so revenge outing? Are you seeing that sort of excitement which makes you believe that maybe by the end of this fiscal, subject to no third wave, we could go back to pre-pandemic footfalls?
Yes, definitely. I'm seeing a lot of travel. I don't know whether it's revenge travel or just people bored out of their skulls, but they're definitely coming out in numbers and big numbers. And people are really, I think, frustrated because of, being cooped up in their homes and, home offices and things like that. So there's definitely a market for people wanting to come out to safe outdoor and entertainment avenues, especially for close family and friends. And, right now we are not open every day of the week. We are open only 4 days a week. And every day that we are open, we get almost 30 to 40% of our, tickets sold pre-booked online, and remaining 70% get, parks get, the tickets get sold at the gate. And weekends we are, doing pretty much, the parks are pretty much at capacity, at the reduced capacity that we are allowed to operate, which is about 4,000 to 5,000 numbers depending on the size of the park. So I think we are quite happy with the way people have come back, and we do see that trend even in our online forums where people ask us when our parks are reopening. Every time we shut a park, there's a huge number of queries that come to us asking when are we reopening, how many days are we reopening, what are your safety features, can we bring our kids or elderly parents. So we obviously give them guidelines saying that make sure you're vaccinated, or make sure people who have pre-existing health conditions don't come to the park. So with those kind of safety guidelines in place, I think still there are a lot of people who want to come out, and that gives us a lot of confidence for sure. Yes.
Excellent. Now, Arun, of course, during the pandemic, many companies have reinvented themselves and forayed into new segments that are more friendly from a social distancing point of view. You have a takeaway outlet, Wonderla Kitchen. How did that fare? What's the plan for this one going ahead?
It was an experiment that we did during the first lockdown, which was a much more intense lockdown, and a lot of our staff were completely unemployed. So this was their idea to keep themselves engaged, and we did reasonably well. We had about 5 outlets in 3 cities, and but it was a very low volume operation because we didn't have multiple kitchens in each city, and the city demand is pretty huge. And since the parks were also being allowed to reopen in the middle, so then we had to wind that business down quickly because we needed all the extra hands in the parks when we reopened, and because the parks were running pretty much at that capacity. So during that time, obviously we decided to close this, and we run a version of it in our parks now. in terms of the every day it's a different menu, the food. So we are experimenting with it. Still not finalized when we will reopen that. But since the parks are reopened, I think everybody's focus is on that right now, and we feel like that's what we want to focus on, and we are seeing demand there. So yeah, so I mean that was just something that we did just to get everybody's spirits up, and just to when there was a lot of despair in everybody's minds of what is going to happen. And luckily this time that's not happened. The lockdowns have been much shorter. We have been allowed to open the parks a full quarter before after the last wave ended. So that way it's great. And and we are also experimenting a lot with digital marketing and digital ticket selling, and that's worked out a huge deal for us. We almost pre-sell almost half of our tickets. Almost 40% of our tickets now are pre-booked, as against only 10% before the pandemic. So I think there's definitely a change in customer behavior. They expect more, cleanliness and safety and things like that. And I think that's where we can, that's where we are on top of our game as well. So yeah.
Super. Well, let's hope that there are no more disruptions and smooth sailing from here on. Thank you so much, Arun, for joining us. All the
Thank you
best.
so much for having us.